there's one video I can recommend for you guys to stay till the end, it's this one. Because in this video, I'm giving you guys 10 points in order for us to discover the dark side of the arm wrestling culture. Now, before we get started in this video, if there's anybody who needs any advice on training, if it's for a matchup, a tournament, please send me your video via Instagram and I'll make a YouTube video dedicated to all my viewers who need help for a upcoming matchup, a tournament, or just want recommendations or advice for arm wrestling training. Starting with point number 1 that leads us into the dark side of the arm wrestling culture. And this is injuries and career-ending breaks. So the reality is, your elbow, your shoulder, your humerus, these all break, especially when doing ego pulls, or you just have bad coaching. Now the truth is, one single bad match can destroy years of training, or it could end a hobby. Now I would say that in the last couple of years, I have seen a massive increase when it comes to safety of arm wrestling, but I still do think that we have to take a better approach. I don't know how because it's talked about a lot, but I do see arm breaks all the time. Now, luckily before every tournament, we always see referees and people talking about safety so that it doesn't happen in the matchups. But unfortunately, it seems to be every 1 or 2 tournaments, we're getting an arm break of some sort. Now, let's give a couple examples. Travis Bejan, he had an injury where he broke his arm in training. Now, I believe it was his distal humerus fracture during a heavy top roll session. The impact, he had to take months off, which affected his competitive momentum, but he also came back to win major titles. However, he did admit that the injury made him more cautious and strategic in training heavy loads. Another person we could talk about, as you all know very well, would be John Brzenk, one of the greatest of all time. He experienced forearm, tendon injuries, and minor fractures during his career. Impact, while not career-ending, he had to make adjustments to his technique, focusing more on leverage and hand positioning, which arguably extended his career. Levon Saganashvili, known to have suffered an arm and elbow injuries in high-level competitions. The impact, well, he required a lot of physical therapy and some technical adjustments. While he remained dominant, certain injuries influenced which techniques he favored, which ended up being less risky, the top rolls in certain positions. Moving on to point number 2, and this one is going to be juicy, and this is steroid use or PEDs. Now, for all the new people who are watching my videos, the reality is most top-level athletes are either using PEDs or steroids, even if it's not openly talked about. The point is, everyone is using something. Now, here's the dark side to this problem. Most young lifters are going to feel the pressure to use something in order to stay competitive. Now, this is something I see on social media a lot, and this is chasing PRs all the time. If it's the Devin Laird pronation lift, if it's the riser lift, if it's a bicep curl, when you're watching these videos and the same person is always doing PR after PR after PR, you do realize that there comes a point where you actually can't do that anymore. What you're not seeing is that this person is very likely on something, if it's something as simple as testosterone, a SARM, steroids, or PEDs. Now, if you are on PEDs, be real about enhancement, its risks, and how it affects your fairness and health. If you guys want to know about my PED protocol, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and comment saying you want to know what I do. And I'll make sure to make a video about it in the future. Now moving on to point number 3, and this is toxic gym cultures and gatekeeping. Now here's the reality. Some clubs are very supportive, but others could be cliquey or belittle people for style differences. Now I've seen this more than enough, more than I probably should have, and it's very unfortunate, but it seems to be that in every state or every province, there are several or maybe a club, I'm not going to name any specific ones, but there always seems to be something somewhere where there tends to be an issue. Now, the toxic gym culture or gatekeeping that I'm talking about is what makes new poolers feel like they don't belong. Here's the reality. Some gyms and clubs are amazing, supportive, encouraging, and full of people who genuinely want to help you get you better. But others, not so much. Cliquey groups, dismissive attitudes towards beginners, or people who make fun of your style or approach just because it's different. It's subtle sometimes, jokes, smirks, comments, but it's enough to make someone feel unwelcome. And here's the problem. This kind of toxicity isn't harmless, it actually drives people away. New pullers quit, experienced lifters stop coming, and the overall community suffers. A sport grows when people feel like they belong, when they're motivated to learn, improve, and share knowledge, not when they're worried about being judged for trying something new. Personally, I've seen it both as a newcomer and now on the other side as someone more experienced. You see people hesitate to ask questions. They're either nervous to step up to the table or avoiding certain gyms altogether because of how they might be treated. It's frustrating because it's unnecessary. Everyone starts somewhere and there's no one correct style for how to pull. If you're starting out, don't let that stop you. Find clubs or partners that actually teach, support, and push you positively. And if you're experienced, be the person who lifts others up, not the one who tears them down. That's how the sport grows, and that's how we all get better. Point number 4 of the dark side of arm wrestling, and this is the ego problem. Everyone wants to be the alpha. Some people want to protect their record by either ducking matches or bullying weaker pullers. The dark angle of this, the sport can attract men looking for validation through competition. Now the real question is, are you in this sport to grow or just to feel powerful? You know, everybody wants to be the alpha, but sometimes that comes at a cost. Here's the reality. Some pullers are all about protecting their record. They might duck matches, pick only easy opponents, or even belittle weaker pullers just to feel superior. And it's not just about skill, it's about status, reputation, and ego. The truth is, this sport can attract people who are insecure, looking for validation through domination. They're not here to learn and grow. They're here to prove something. And that energy spreads. It can intimidate newcomers, create cliques, and make a community feel hostile rather than supportive. So here's my question to you. Are you in this sport to grow, improve, and challenge yourself, or just to feel powerful? Think about it, because the mindset you bring affects not just your results, but the culture around you. Ego will always exist in competitive sports, but choosing growth over dominance is what separates someone who just wants to get stronger from someone who wants to win at all costs. Now, point number 5 that you might not realize that's happening quite a bit in the dark side of arm wrestling, and this is burnout or overtraining. The reality, more amateurs are burning out their tendons with overpulling, too much static work, and no recovery. The problem with this is it seems to be the quote-unquote no off-season culture. And believe me, if there's someone who talks about recovery, it's me. And I still see this every day where there is always someone who I'm either in contact with, someone I know who's arm wrestling, who just can never recover. Just keep in mind here that your grind mentality can destroy your arms before you even get strong. You can be strong, you can train hard, but if your tendons aren't in for the long haul, you're setting yourself up for injury. A lot of amateurs destroy their tendons before they even hit their peak. Why? Overpulling, too much static work, no proper recovery. You're chasing PRs and match wins, but your connective tissue can't keep up with the grind. The harsh truth, a hardcore grind mentality can destroy your arms before you ever get strong. Tendons need progression, rest, and smart accessory work. Learn to balance heavy pulls with tendon preparation, mobility, and proper deloads. That's what separates short-term pullers from lifelong competitors. So if you're chasing gains or trophies, don't just grind. Train smart, protect your tendons, and your arms will carry you further than raw ego ever will. Speaking of the dark side of arm wrestling culture, there is much lack of money and support at the top. Now, this is honestly quite sad to say, but most arm wrestlers at an elite level, let's just say a world-class level for terms of this video, most elite pullers still have full-time jobs and can't even afford to travel for tournaments. I know sponsorships are becoming better and there has been an increase with time, but there are no major sponsorships, inconsistent pay, which I'm not even going to talk about in this video, and empty promises from leagues. So the dark truth is you could be an elite world-class arm wrestler and legitimately be broke. Point 7 of the dark side of arm wrestling culture. And this is social media fake strength, somewhat hype culture. Some athletes have huge followings by just appearing strong. Cherry-picked clips. The issue with this, fans start idolizing the wrong traits. Not technique, not heart, not competition. So is social media helping the sport grow, or is it poisoning it? And I did make a video about this recently. In my opinion, social media has been more of a positive impact than a negative impact, but this is something we have to keep in mind. Point number 8, this is table bullies and unsafe practice pullers. The reality is, and I hate to say this, certain pullers yank, twist, or go full force on newcomers to assert dominance. Now, the problem with doing this is that it is a high-risk injury play, and it doesn't give a good effect when it comes to low retention on new pullers. Now, like mentioned previously, arm wrestling has been doing a better job with time when it comes to promoting safety, but it is something I will always keep mentioning, and this is to prioritize safety. Make sure there is technical growth, and you're not just winning every practice round. Now, the number 9 point could be controversial, and this is politics for tournaments. I don't see this very often, but I figure it's something I have to mention, and it is somewhat true, believe it or not. But there is favoritism, biased refs, and just overall regional politics that can affect results. The amount of times I've seen an actual matchup happen and I completely disagreed with how the match went or how the match was just set up based off the connection with the ref and their quote-unquote favorite puller. In the dark side of arm wrestling culture, we are moving on to point number 10, and this is mental health and obsession. The reality, the obsession to win, be known, or just to get respect can become toxic. The dark side of this, identity is tied to pulling. You could battle depression after your injuries, losses, or stagnation. Now, what happens when arm wrestling becomes your whole identity? And I ask myself this question sometimes because I feel like I live and breathe arm wrestling, which from my personal experience, it's what really gives me hope long term. If it comes from a mental health aspect, from a physical aspect, or just something as simple as trying to achieve my goals. Everyone loves hype and intensity, but nobody talks about the dark side of arm wrestling. The sport is incredible, but it's not all gold. Know the dark side and rise above it. If you want to know why arm wrestling is going to explode in 2026, watch my most recent video right there, and I'll catch you guys on the other side. Peace.